Considering earlier's video, I think we all could use a little bit of a palate cleanser. I mean, that stuff was pretty heavy, so why don't we get back to some, general nerd news, the stuff you actually usually come here for. And there's nothing better when it comes to nerd news than game developers taking on the woke acolytes. I mean, you love to see it. Every now and again, you get a Japanese game developer who just is so tired of the way Westerners criticize their culture and claim everything is racist. And that's exactly what we got to see about the upcoming Tekken 8 game. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and that's right. The Tekken 8 director Katsuhiro Harada decided to just go all-out offensive against some woke idiot on X, who I believe was a furry. Maybe the article will fact-check that, because I can't quite remember. Who was claiming that depictions of black fighters in their game was racist. So let's get to this article. Before we do, hit that subscribe button, because, yeah, after earlier's video about the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, I don't know if YouTube's going to be too kind to me, so hit that button. I would really appreciate it. We're trying to grow a lot in 2024, and that video probably didn't help, but the truth is important. But then again, nerd culture is important as well. Tekken 8 director Katsuhiro Harada slams Western player who accused him of racism over lack of Eddie Gordo DLC. Leroy and Raven will kick your ass. And yeah, here we go. We got some tough, strong-looking black dudes, because Tekken, I mean, it's a fighting game. It's been around forever. It's probably the third most famous fighting game out there after Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. And frankly, I'll be honest, I'm a Street Fighter guy. I've played some Tekken games. I like Tekken. But I'll take Street Fighter, Virtua Fighter, Dead or Alive, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Dragon Ball FighterZ. I'll take all of those before I play Tekken. But at the end of the day, Smash Bros, obviously. But I respect Tekken. I like what it's done. I've played several of the Tekken games. I think I started with Tekken 2 back in the the PS1 days. But either way, let's see what this this developer had to say when it comes to trouncing woke idiots on X. In delivering a well-deserved Heihachi-worthy get-a-stomp to one of the most eye-rolling and unserious elements of the Western entertainment market, Tekken 8 game director Katsuhiro Harada has responded to a baseless accusation of anti-black racism by kowtowing to his critic, but not kowtowing to his critic, but rather excoriating the absurd argument in full view of the public eye. Remember how we used to handle beef in the classic days? I mean, obviously the way we used to handle beef was, with your fists. We don't advocate for that here on YouTube on account of we like to keep our channel. So the next best thing was, you would do like a diss track or a follow-up video where you call someone out publicly and make them look like a fool. Now, calling people out publicly nowadays, it just sort of goes by the wayside because that's what everyone does on X daily. But when a Japanese video game developer calls you out, yeah, people start to take notice. So here we are, we got, again, one of the characters, and look at this cute little pupper right here. The exchange of words first kicked off on January 3rd when Twitter user TimTiger16, unhappy with the fact that fan favorite Capoeira fighter Eddie Gordo was absent from the base roster of the series' upcoming 8th entry, and his leaked post-launch content plans took to social media platform and attempted to use identity politics to shame Harada into immediately making the character available as DLC. I mean, look, I get it. I remember when Sonic the Hedgehog, the live-action film, when the trailer first came out, we saw Ugly Sonic. We were horrified by Ugly Sonic. We probably had nightmares for a couple weeks based on Ugly Sonic. And I also remember when we as the internet collectively decided to bully the movie studio into fixing Ugly Sonic. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad we did. I am quite happy with the Sonic movie we got. But that doesn't mean we can just bully every studio willy-nilly when they do things that we don't like, especially when you're doing it for such obtuse and disingenuous reasons as lack of representation in a game when, let's be real, I don't know if I've ever played a fighting game since my entire time playing video games that doesn't have black characters. Like, even back in Street Fighter 2 days, you had, Balrog and, I think it was Street Fighter Alpha 3 or Street Fighter Generations 3 or Street Fighter 3 Generation. Either way, you had Sean, who was like the replacement for Ryu. He was the Brazilian kid who fought using Ryu's style. Or, again, you have multitudes of black characters throughout fighting games. So even if Eddie Gordo wasn't going to be in the game, it's not as if there's not going to be other black characters. That's so disingenuous to even think so. But yeah, here's the actual tweet, and it's from unapologetically black TimTiger16. And yeah, I think I was right earlier when I said the guy was a furry. I mean, take a look at this profile picture here. The only reason why Eddie Gordo hasn't been revealed yet is because the creators of Tekken are racist and don't care about black characters or dark-skinned people. Accuse the user, taking specific care to tag both Harada's personal and the official Tekken Twitter accounts. This is what happens when you got individuals who are so obsessed with attention. They need attention, they need to be validated with these identity politics. They need everybody in the gaming space or the nerd space or really any space here in the Western world to kowtow to their beliefs, to just lick their boots and claim that everything's racist. They probably believe all the nonsense buzzwords that they get off of Facebook or BuzzFeed or really anything that used to come out of Twitter pre the Elon buyout, hence the why I call it Twitter instead of X in that time, because the world was just rife with identitarianism and individuals just licking the boot again of black supremacy nowadays. So it's going to be a while until the real fighters come out instead of these white Latins and Asians. So not only was he calling the creators of Tekken racist, but also being racist himself by saying until the real fighters come out instead of these whites, Latins, and Asians. Bro, what problem you got with you? I understand you had a problem with whites. I mean, yes, you probably fed this narrative your entire life about how the white people were just the source of all your problems. Oh, you grew up in such a systemic racism because, those damn whites. So don't be wrong, I think you're retarded for thinking that, but I can at least understand why you think that. What the hell did Latins and Asians ever do to you? Last I recall, I don't remember Jose the gardener owning you and making you do the gardening instead. That's just not something that happened. Met by the obvious observation from Duran70660996 that his accusation only made sense if one pretended Leroy and Raven never existed. In Tekken 8's base roster, Tim Tiger then revealed that rather than any pretense of actual concern regarding representation, he was simply using the rhetoric of identity politics in order to advance his own goal of seeing such past dark-skinned fighters like Eddie, Bruce, Irvin, and Armor King return to the fighting fold. Bro, I don't care about these new black characters, he admitted. I'm talking about Bruce and Armor King. Where have you been the past 10 years? Dude, fighting games introduce new characters in literally every installment, and a lot of times other characters flat out don't make the cut. And I guarantee you, the creators of Tekken were kicking back and being like, okay, who do we cut out of this game to introduce these new characters? Oh, well, it looks like there's some black characters that, let's cut the black for the black. I mean, who's gonna notice? They're all the same, am I right? I highly doubt that's what was going on behind closed doors. I can't believe that he straight up says, I don't care about these new black characters. I thought one of the things that people were asking for, especially people of color, was for new black characters. Or are you one of those types of individuals that's A-okay with every famous character just getting a race swap to be a black guy? Are you just so happy with the white folks sloppy seconds? Here you got new original black characters that could have incredibly rich and awesome backstories, who could be incredibly fun to play as when you figure out their fighting styles and their combos, but you don't care about them. So you're being given black representation in the form of hopefully well-crafted new characters, and you don't care. That speaks more to your ideology than I think anything you could follow up with. I cannot believe he was that, and he even used, a picture of that little quizzical white girl. So, again, is that somehow racist? I don't even know. I mean, it's funny, but I don't know if it's somehow racist. However, unlike many such Western developers, Harada refused to even entertain Tim Tiger's blatant nonsense. Retweeting his critic's initial tweet, the longtime franchise overseer declared, "If you think you can just claim anything that way and it will pass, you are mistaken. Leroy and Raven will kick your ass." Ooh, you love to see it. Homeboy's like, man, here, come into Pixeland, and my boys will eat you for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you think, let's see, what else he said? Yeah, Leroy and Raven will kick your ass. Come to think of it, there are no Japanese characters in the American dramas and movies that I love. Oh, he's going there. Oh, he is going there. There's no Japanese characters in the American dramas and movies that I love, but I've never felt discriminated against because of it. What do you think is the crucial difference between you and me? I'm sure you don't understand. Now, to be fair, Harada, he probably doesn't understand because I don't think he can read. And even if he can read, clearly critical thinking is not Homeboy's strong suit. I'm sure you understand. You are not logical at all. Bingo. You hit the nail on the head, Harada. You're not logical at all, and you're simply a delusional person who doesn't even realize that even if it were an emotional argument, it doesn't make sense. My boy Atreus, who I stream with on Saturday Night Hypnosis, he likes to make a joke about how much the Asians hate the N-words, the word that I can't say on account of my melanin concentration count. But yeah, here we clearly have a case of, here's an Asian dude purely showing no bigotry whatsoever. Now, don't get me wrong. There are absolutely parts of Asia that flat out don't like the black folk. I mean, China's pretty big on being pretty anti-black. But I don't see that now. And maybe there's parts of Japan or even all of Japan that is like that behind closed doors. But We got a guy here who knows, hey, I'm on the internet, and I'm trying to sell a product. I should probably portray myself to the rest of the world as the way that would best sell said product, which is being open and inclusive, and but doing it with a little bit of spite to show that the individual he's responding to is being an illogical artard. Why did I just say artard? An illogical retard. Proceeding to dismantle the idea of representation based on immutable traits, Harada continued. Okay, so they're just going to give the rest of his quote, which, again, he said very succinctly. I mean, he absolutely dominated this quote. I mean, saying the crucial difference between, what's the crucial difference between you and me, you love it. That is something that you would have, like, the villain in some, cheesy 80s or 90s action movie say, what's the crucial difference between you and me? But it's delivered so perfectly here. Like, I feel like Homeboy, I feel like Harada is more Wesley Snipes than Unapologetically Black will ever be. Of course, as is typical of these types of entitled individuals, rather than responding to Harada's pushback with even an ounce of humility or self-reflection, Tim Tiger insists Choose continue throwing a very public tantrum. You're actually fucking hilariously threatening me with fighting game characters, he bizarrely replied to the Tekken director. It's so funny. This reminds me of an altercation I had with Jamie Marchi a couple days ago on X. Obviously there's been this problem going around with the anime voice acting industry and the way they are localizing things and the localizations being abhorrent and very politically driven and charged. And me and Jamie Marchi, who was one of the key individuals who accused Vic Mignogna of things that were very, very verifiably untrue, her and I got into it. And at one point I said, I guess R2-D2 and the T-1000 is coming for your job. And she goes, ugh, movie characters coming for my job seems unlikely. Like, that's the same energy this guy's giving off. Like, yeah, very obvious we're using hyperbole and jokes to sort of make our points hit harder, and your willful ignorance, your willful intent to ignore the hyperbole it's more telling about you than it is us when we make these sort of tweets. But anyway, I'm just so glad to see that I can sort of relate here. Like, I'm very much relating to Harada. He and I aren't the same race, we aren't the same skin color, we're not even of the same culture, but I very much relate to him here because he and I have a similar way to deal with individuals we don't like online. And isn't that what matters at the end of the day? The relatability. Everyone's always claiming in video games, oh, I need to be able to relate to this character. I don't relate to Harada here because of skin color. I relate to him because of methodology and ideology, and that is what is far more important. I've been whooping for years since you were in diapers. Boy, go pick Heihachi and fight me in the ring. I'm not even sure what he means by that. Like, obviously, he's complaining about fighting it. Is he challenging the developer to... I have a sneaking suspicion the developer would whoop your ass in the game because he helped make the game. He got to know everything about it. Or are you challenging him to an actual fight? In which case, man, I wouldn't challenge any Asian to a fight because I'm sure they probably don't all know Kung Fu or Ninjutsu or Karate, but I'm sure all of them, they probably have a better chance of knowing that sort of thing than me. So all I'm saying is I don't care what race you are. Probably shouldn't be challenging Asians to fights. I've seen the Raid. I know how they can fight. Throwing in a dash of racism for good measure, Tim Tiger added, second of all, I never stated I felt like I was being discriminated against solely. I was just stating obvious facts, how you replaced Bruce with that ghetto-ass Sagat thing you called Fuck Your Mom, a reference to Tekken 7 fighter, Fakum Ram, whose name translates to Roaring Sky in his native Thai. And I get, okay, so here's a picture of the character here. I won't lie. Maybe I need to hold in my nerd card. I was not aware of this character because, again, not much of a Tekken guy. I did get the Sagat reference though. Street Fighter, much more my bag. For those more interested in the game than crying at their shadow, Tekken 8 rocks on the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and Windows platforms on January 26th. You know what? I might actually buy this game. We are always talking about how if you want to show that a product needs to be made or that certain, ideas need to be put out there, then you need to actually pay for said product. When a show or a movie comes out or a video game comes out, and it's based, and it's got good ideas behind it, and it doesn't have any sort of the, liberal hive mind woke nonsense that we've been seeing a lot in Western culture, you of course want to throw money at it. And frankly, Japan has been really bad about wokeifying things lately. Japan's been very bad about kowtowing to the West and doing things in their games that it doesn't mean that they're woke, but that they're definitely potentially afraid of woke backlash. That's the best way I can describe Resident Evil 4. There's a lot of changes in the game that I don't think the changes themselves were quote-unquote woke, but they just didn't want want to deal with the media firestorm that would come from the accusations, so they just cut it as a precautionary measure. And I'm loving that we're not seeing that here from Tekken. I think I'm going to buy this game despite not being a massive Tekken fan, just because of what this director said, just because of what Katsuhiro Harada said. I am now going to be paying for Tekken 8. So you know what? You may have lost Homeboy here as a customer, but you gained another in me. You got me. I'll buy Tekken 8. I'll probably stream it. I'll probably suck because I've never been good at Tekken despite my love of fighting games, especially competitive fighting games. But just based on your ideology alone, Harada, you got yourself a new customer. And I think that you should take that and realize that that's actually what most of us in the West are. Most of us in the West, we do not care about this ideological bogus. We don't care about what color people are or what race or what, who they choose to sleep with. As long as you just have you're a good person at heart, we truly do have the Martin Luther King Jr. ideology of we care more about the content of your character than the color of your skin. Idiots like these hopefully aren't speaking for the rest of us, and I really hope we see Japan continue to put out these based projects instead of kowtowing to the liberal hive mind. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X, where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day. Not always about video games, but also anime, movies, music, Magic the Gathering, you name it. Check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon, because it's all here in the nerdosphere. And this has been Words of Paradise.